Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
Mic check. Yes, I definitely see you, brother.
All right, excellent.
I see you. I hear you. Welcome everyone to Community Beacon. It is Friday, July 7th, 7/7, 2023. How about 2023? 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 equals 7. So we got a lot of sevens. I just noticed that. That's awesome. Wow. Oh man, I got a friend who I prospect with Monday through Friday. Shouts out to Megan. It's her birthday, and I was like, wow, the 777. She was 7 pounds 7 ounces when she was born. But I said that is a interesting phenomenon. So shouts out to Megan. Happy birthday. I hope she is celebrating. She took today off, which is fine. I guess we're allowed that. We're allowed to have that. I'm Michaeldseville. I'm your gracious real estate guide here in northern Palm Beach County. And of course, on the other side of the camera, we have my brother from another mother. I'm proud to introduce Joe with the Tenacity Foundation. My co-host each and every Friday. What is going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on? Another day. Shout out to Megan once again. Happy birthday to you. Yep, definitely appreciate you for sure. Any friend of Mike's is a friend of mine. That's the way I think about it. This is a great man right here. And I'm glad to be a co-host with this man right here. This is a beautiful thing. So glad to be here, brother. Let's get it started.
Absolutely, guys. So before we get really into it, let's do some quick housekeeping. Remember to like, subscribe, and share you all, and hit the notification button. You see the ticker on the bottom. If you could do that, we'd really, really appreciate it. It helps out with our algorithm. It also helps out to know that you're with us. We know you're with us, but we appreciate you every time that you at least show that type of love. We definitely appreciate that. Of course, on Mondays, we have What It Takes each and every Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. Check me out. I'm talking about real estate. I'm talking about business. I'm dropping them. However they get done. And then, of course, on Wednesdays, we have It Starts With Who, brother?
Yeah, it starts with me. So we've been having a great time on It Starts With Me. People have been showing up. And Mike, I agree with you, brother. Every time somebody jumps on and sends a message, it means so much. And I've been speaking with a lot of people lately, and they're just telling me, oh, man, I've been watching the Community Beacon for the last couple of weeks or the last few weeks. I said, well, why didn't you put anything on? They're like, oh, well, I saw this other sister. She was up there talking and y'all were having this deep conversation. I was like, yeah. All right. Yeah, you were definitely there because that definitely did happen. So we definitely want to hear from you all. Check us out on, It Starts With Me, 12:30. We'll be there. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. Guys, remember the male perspective. This is the show I'm doing with Beethoven over at Podcast. But well, not Beethoven. He's the production guy. But we have about 4 other guys that come on there. We talk about the male perspective. So and it's definitely different perspectives. Normally Joel and I, like we have a way of we align with each other at the end of the day. I remember the brother once told me, and I've always repeated this, is that as long as we're seeking truth, we'll end up at the same place. So a lot of our viewpoints, et cetera, tend to be aligned. On the male perspective, it can be a little bit different viewpoints. And of course, it's always respectable. I think we tend to be very respectable. And here's what I've also noticed, just from different perspectives, is that we agree on 90+% of things. I think most human beings, we agree on 90+% of things. There's this 10% that seems to be, little 10% or probably a little less than 10% that just seems to be magnified. It can tend to trigger people. And I think as long as we are respectable in our communications, that even not even that can be overcame. So shouts out to the guys on Male Perspective. I believe he drops those every Tuesday. And then, of course, we culminate our weeks with the Community Beacon, or at least we do online. We culminate it with Community Beacon at 6:30. Once again, love to have you here, and we appreciate you. We didn't even have a green room today. The brother was so laser focused that he was like, "Let's get started," and I was happy to oblige, brother. What's going on your neck of the woods in your world, and some thoughts that you had of I guess the past 2 weeks. I know we've celebrated July 4th, which is an awesome holiday. I know you tend to be pretty busy on July 4th. I did a lot of gardening. I'm doing a lot of yard work now, and it's been grounding and centering for me. What about you, brother? How are things on your end?
Hey man, yeah, 100%. Lots of work happened on July, the weekend of July 4th. As a matter of fact, when it came down to the actual day of July 4th, I actually wasn't working, and that was
Oh wow.
strange. I had the day off, but I was so exhausted. I told my wife, I'm like, whatever you want to do, let's do it. And just kind of like put the horse and the buggy in her hands. And, we ended up not doing anything. As a matter of fact, we went out into that beautiful home that you sold us, and we took some of our furniture out into the grass off of our back patio, and we went down onto the embankment,
Nice.
and from where we are, there was three fireworks shows going on, so
Nice.
we actually got a chance to watch all three of them in the comfort of our own backyard, you know. And then we just moved the furniture back up onto the patio and went inside the house and went to sleep. Honestly, that was the thing.
And someone was asking me about fire. Did you do fireworks? I tell people I leave it up to the professionals. Fireworks are so dangerous to me personally. I've seen so many horror stories, and I remember that we used to do it a lot when I was a young child. Probably before I moved to Florida. But I've seen too many fingers get blown off. I've seen too many situations. I saw someone throw like a bomb in a car that exploded the other day. So I try to stay away from the fireworks. So it's always good to be able to just sit in the back patio, watch them. We have we have one that goes up over the golf course over here, and so it's been awesome. And speaking of the golf course, I was looking at the video, our intro video, where we took pictures. And Saturday, no, it was Sunday. I actually got a chance to actually take my bike and ride through that neighborhood. That I think is Aventura.
Aventura.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
It's growing, brother. It's getting big. It is.
Wow.
It's huge.
It was a 6-mile ride going all the way down and hitting the corner where it was. And they're not even, I would say they're probably 15 to 20% done. Beautiful homes, beautiful people. I've never seen that, and there's a lot of young families out there as well. Like when I say young, I mean guys who are like in their 40s, early 50s, with their kids on golf carts and just laughing, waving. Beautiful area. It's going to be similar to what's going on out there in what was by the ballpark in Jupiter. They're putting up a lot of homes, beautiful, brand new homes. It's amazing what's going on out there. And it used to just be cows. It was a pasture. It was a lot of cows out there, straight land, and they're putting that all the way through to PGA. So you actually be able to go from North Lake, drive through Aventura. It's not Aventura. It's like Aventura. Okay, it'll come to me. And you'll be able to catch it on PJ. So man, it's interesting, and I live right here, so it's like to know that all that is happening as I live in my little community is awesome. It was interesting to see. So yeah, so that reminded me of that. Man, you know what? We can get into a quick topic. I know we have some time. Was I was having a conversation with a person earlier today, and this person, the younger guy, was giving me tips and or not tips rather, was talking about starting a business. And so I've been through the ringer in this entrepreneurial field, so it was always good just to listen, because when I go back and I think of myself at that age, I pretty much had the same thought process. Where I got this thought process from, like, I don't know, or where we get it from, I don't know. I think it tends to be what we think of as conventional wisdom, and what we can tend to do, especially as younger entrepreneurs, is we can tend to throw a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. So instead of us focusing and niching down in a particular avenue, we tend to have like two or three businesses going on at the same time. And so I'm listening, and as I'm hearing this person talk about these different ideals and these businesses, and he's going about it, similar to what I went about it, going to SCORE, which is it's with the SCORE is where you can go to SCORE. It's basically a program where you have a lot of retired business people, and they give you information, and you can kind of be a mentor. So I remember doing that when I was around 29 or 30, going to the SCORE and listening to these older guys. And these guys tend to be retired, 60s, 70s, 80-year-old guys, giving information about becoming opening and starting a business. So this young man has been doing the same thing. And so he went on and he spoke about it. And then he even got to the part of the doing. He said, yeah, I just got to do more. I got to do, I'm around some people, and they have successful businesses. And he was really focused in on the doing. So after he spoke, I'm always careful to ask. I said, would you like some feedback? And when you're talking about people's aspirations and dreams and thought processes of how they see the future, you always have to be really empathetic.
Cognizant.
Yeah, cognizant, empathetic in regards to, and you do this well, brother. I mean, you're gonna be hard pressed to find a better listener than Joe, empathetic listener than Joe. So it's like, so you gotta kind of, because I've never been the one to want to squash anyone's dreams. This is the only day and only time that we have, and who knows what can happen. Like you may be going about it. However, if you're open to it, I'm always willing to give some feedback just from what I hear, because sometimes we don't hear. We say things and we don't necessarily like it's a lot of stuff that's in our mind.
Yes.
So one of the things I told the brother was, to get clear.
Yes.
So you got to really get clear. I said, so my question was him, because you want to come question based, is like, well, what made you choose these two different opportunities, or these two businesses? And then he went down the path, and here's what it was. And we've had this conversation before. He was like, well, these were just two opportunities, and I just couldn't pass them up. They're great opportunities, and I felt like I couldn't pass them up. And then that's where you get that aha moment, as you get older and you start to get a little bit wiser and get more experience in business, is that no matter what level you're on in business, and if you're a decent person, which this guy is, smart, intelligent, this guy is, has the ability to do the work, which this guy does, you will always be given opportunities. There's no lack of opportunities for people who are great, brother. We've had this conversation before, and I've told you, I said, brother, the type of person that you are, there's going to be a lot of people who are willing to give you opportunities. But the clearer you get on what your end goal and your vision is, the more you can say, which is a magic word, no, or another magic word, yes, to these different opportunities. Because what you don't, you can be open to opportunities, but do you have the time, and do you have the passion to really put your all into these different things? So I said a lot, brother. What are your thoughts on some of that?
I definitely, I like what you're saying. I think that it makes a difference, asking a question like that to me today versus a few years ago. I still haven't hit the numbers that I desire to hit, or the location that I desire to be at just yet. but I know that I'm on the right trail.
Right.
You know, I'm in the right place. I'm in the right field, so to speak. I'm playing the right game. I got the right ball in my hands. All those types of things are
Yeah.
happening. So that's really important for me. So when you're saying this, I'll tell you that maybe about 3 or 4 days ago, I was having a conversation that is very similar, and I was talking to somebody that maybe you might even consider that I kind of sort of mentor them a little bit. I've got a few people that are around me that ask me questions and that dig in deep with me, and we just have conversations. But they definitely do look towards me for the answers to some of these things that they got going on. And one of those things that came up was a conversation very much like this. And they didn't really ask me; they just presented the information. And so after hearing everything that they had said, I gave them this, and I'll share it with you as well. And so I said, sometimes what it is it's like Leonidas in the movie 300. And they said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, the thing about Leonidas is that he had lived all of his life becoming a Spartan, and he had learned to perfect so many different things. And he had learned how to use his breastplate of armor to protect him. He had learned how to use his sword to fight with. He had learned how to use his spear, for long distance battles. He had learned how to use his helmet to protect his head and how to see, clearly with the helmet on. He had learned all these different techniques, and he had not only learned all those things, but he had taught so many other men, hence the name of the movie 300. And so in the heat of the battle, he's going up against, a warlord who's sending thousands of enemies, and they are crushing them, and the numbers are just outrageous, right? And this is all based off of, seemingly, it's based off of a true story. Obviously, they added a whole lot of enrichment to the movie, but the 300 is, something that can be looked up. So anyway, in this moment where while Leonidas is facing Xerxes, because he's like, who is this guy who defies me in such a way that he sends my men back bloody, without arms, without sight, or they never come back at all? And he defies every single one, no matter who I send, no matter what skill level. Who is this, and how many people? And it's like 300. I need to see this. So he goes to the front of the front of the battle, the heat of the battle, so that he can see who it is. And when Leonidas sees him, I love the way the narrator shows up in this part, and they show Leonidas, and Xerxes, all he wants him to do is just bow before him. He wants to take rule over this area. He wants to rule the Spartans. It'll do so much. And when it comes down to it, he sees Leonidas, and Leonidas gets out in front of everybody, and it's like this calm over the storm is going on, and the clashing of the battlefield just like goes away, and he beckons him, now bow before me. And as he does this, Leonidas begins to walk ahead, and as he walks ahead, he drops his sword. And I'm telling this to a friend of mine. He drops his sword, and Xerxes is looking at him, and he's thinking, yeah, that's right, come on up here, come on, bow before me. He drops his sword, and then after that, he like takes off his breastplate, and he drops that, and he's like, yes, he's going to bow before me. He drops his helmet, and he drops all of his armor. He drops everything, and he has nothing left but this spear. And the narrator begins to talk about each one of these items. And when he speaks about it, it's like, he dropped his breastplate because it was too heavy. He dropped his helmet because he needed to be able to see. He dropped his sword because of the balance, or whatever it is. He gives all these different explanations. And then at the end, he says, all because he knew he had one shot at what he was about to do. And he had to apply all of his body, all of his focus into this one opportunity, and he could not fail. And so Leonidas gave everything up in order for this one shot. And I think that this is like the life of an entrepreneur in some ways, is that, and maybe some other things, is that there's so many things that we are passionate about and we've learned to love and we've learned to use, that we don't necessarily know which skill is the skill that will do it for us, whether it's the breastplate, because our heart is filled with passion, or whether it's the helmet because our minds are filled with hope. And I'm also thinking of the scripture as well when I say this, or whether it's our sword or whatever that is going to bring us to victory. But it's not until you are actually threading the needle, you are actually in the heat of the moment, that I think that many entrepreneurs actually find out exactly what it is. So having this culmination of things and ideas in the very beginning is not a bad thing, but you must become focused. You have to narrow that sight, because doing all of it is very difficult to be successful, because it weighs a lot on you. It's a very heavy burden. And without good direction, and without true focus, and without clarity, and without sustenance, then it's very easy for you to fall in the middle of your greatest battle, which, if you succeed, if you have the endurance, if you can persevere, that is actually the very moment that you find out who the true you is and what you really are capable of doing. And you have to drop everything, focus on one thing, and then just shoot your shot, go for it. Just leave it all on the ground. And whether you make it or not, you gave everything. And because of that everything, you will be rewarded for what you have given. Yeah, you coming. You on mute, but I know you're on your way.
Oh yeah. My apologies. I said, wow, you were just as good as a narrator in the 300 as you described that scene, because I'm listening and I'm thinking about exactly that part, and that's it. I add to it, because this was the conversation I was having with them as well, was that it's specifically your first business. You want to be so intimate with it, and understanding of it, that if someone called you with a problem on it, that you're able to, at the drop of a hat, say, I recognize this symptom. This is exactly what we need to do. And then you spoke about the reward. And here's and I hope people don't miss this point when I talk about the reward, is that for whatever reason, we feel as if our reward is this money or the end goal. And if you really think about it, that's not the reward. The reward is in the becoming. It's the journey. That even now, me at the stage that I'm at, it's hard to wrap my head around it, because we're always talking about, you're going to see the cars, the money, of course you want to improve your lifestyle. You want to have a certain lifestyle. You want to spend, whatever it may be. But this life is about this journey. We're not living life to get to the end, right? Like who says as we go through our day to day, we're not saying like, listen, I'm just getting, well, some people may be saying, I think it might be depressing, I'm just living life to get to the end. It's the same way you treat your business. Is like, don't treat your business with the end goal in mind. With the means to an end, or it's going to be, it makes the journey a lot harder. But if you are understanding that the person that you're becoming as you take on this journey, because guess what? Anything can happen that is, and I call it being above my pay grade. Anything can happen in our government, society. Look what happened in COVID. To where now, if you're living just towards that end, then everything gets turned upside down. Now you're in a state of depression because you had your eyes fixed on this end point. But if you're fixed on this journey and the behaviors that you're developing and the person that you are becoming, I'm gonna go back to this to the conversation. This person kept saying do, and I said you gotta be. Like if you're focused on the behaviors, then no matter what gets thrown at you, you start to make the adjustment because you're being it. I'm a huge gym guy. I like to go to the gym to the point of where if I don't go to the gym, I don't feel like Michael. You know, I identify as being a gym person, whatever it is. So when I go to the gym, it's not like this thing like, oh, I gotta force myself, or it has to be discipline, or it has to be willpower. It's just I'm going to the gym. It's as simple as taking a breath. I'm breathing. It's happening. You know what I mean? It's a part of what I'm becoming. So I definitely think it's important and to understand that it's in the becoming. And if you understand it's in the becoming, and you understand that it takes that type of focus and understanding of, you know, I can't say it more eloquently than how the brother put it with Leonidas in the 300. Now you know exactly what it is that you have to do, or we talk about divesting ourselves of things, what you need to divest yourself of in order to get to this, you know, to the becoming. Because one thing I understand about life, Beethoven says, life be lifing. And we spoke
He
about this a
does.
couple of weeks ago. You know,
You know,
things are going to come up.
I like to interject something on that
Yeah,
becoming part.
absolutely.
You know, it's just that the minute that an individual decides on this journey, they are becoming.
Yeah,
Quite frankly, the minute you decide on whatever you're going to do, you're becoming whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but you're becoming. The minute you decide you want to be married, you're becoming a married individual. You're becoming a married man. You don't even have to meet the woman yet.
mm,
I'll give a short example, and it tosses it back in your direction. But for whatever reason, I was like 17 years of age, and I was kind of like fed up with women to a certain degree. I don't know what it was, but I was just like really upset, maybe heartbroken or whatever. I don't know what it was, you know, but I told my mother that I was going to go out and find my wife,
mm.
just like that. And I went out and I met like three women, uh, two women, one woman I met at a restaurant. I met two of them at the same restaurant. Same restaurant. One of them was into me, never really said anything. Another one just walked in the restaurant, gave me her number, looked at the other girl who obviously was interested in me and knew it. You know, women can feel that. And she was just like, hey, are you want to call me? And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, while I was working. And then I met another girl who turned out to be locked in some type of relationship with somebody else that almost caused me some damage right there. And, you know, out of those three women, I picked one. I picked
Right.
one. And I ended up marrying that one. That's who I'm married to now. So this is 26 years ago that this happened. 26 and a half years ago that this happened, you know, and it was all, and my mother will never forget. She said, you went out the house, you said, you know, to go find yourself a wife. And then she said, next thing she knows, Kathy came walking in the door and she ain't never left. She ain't never left. So, I mean, you know, and I don't know that I became the greatest husband or even that I was a husband, even after we got married. I mean, legitimately, by the book, yeah, I was her husband, but I don't know that I was such a great dude that I would consider myself to be a quote unquote husband, you know, but I was made a husband. I've
Mm.
been made into that man. I've been made into that over the time through the fire. You know, I've been made. And so, you know, now I'm a husband. You know, I'm also a father. You know, put us through the sharpening of the iron and the fire. The fire of of affliction. You know, of emotions and the roller coaster of the highs and the lows of being in emotions and emotional relationships that has made me these things. And you know, at a certain point in time, even with my wife, I had to lay down everything else, lay it all down, and I had to just go for the gold. It's just like, am I going to be married and happy or not? Here it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. It's like, forget vulnerability. So out with the breastplate, because I have to let my heart show. Forget about ego. So here, take off my helmet, because my head can't be inflated right now. Because two being one is not easy if the one thinks that they're both. You know, Forget about having a sword, because I can't fight the one that I love. She's supposed to be me. So there's no more fighting going on here. I had to give everything up in order for it to be true togetherness.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, guys. And I think that's a great place to end. I'm just thinking of just some thoughts going back, and especially in that, like you mentioned the decision. So guys, you got to make the decision. Is this where I'm deciding to go? Is this what I'm deciding to be about? Then you divest. You got to start getting rid of certain things. You made that decision because you could, I would imagine at 17 you could have dated all three of them and got caught up in that chaotic thought process. You know what I mean? It happens all the time. Like that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So you decide, you divest, and then you begin, and you will go through this. You get tried and made true through the fire. That you become. You're in the becoming. I don't. This thing could be 10, 20. I'm saying this is a lifetime thing. Like, that's my thought process on marriage, anyways. It's a lifetime thing. But God decides whether your life is going to be 10 years, 20 or 30, whatever it is, but not caught up in that. Just I'm becoming this husband to where you are now. Definitely a great example in my thought process. My mindset is like this is what you do to become, or in the being of that husband. So man, I think it's awesome. Treat your businesses the same, guys.
Yes.
Decide. Get on something. Get in the right vehicle, whatever that may be. I chose real estate. There was a bunch of reasons as to why, and that's what I decided. There's financial things. There's insurance. There's all these different things. We make the decision, and I wasn't the greatest real estate guy when I first started. I was a real estate guy, but I wasn't the greatest. There was a lot of research and then let me get back to you. Let me go figure this out. I'll find the information from you. Give me 3 hours. Let me go see what's going on. Let me find out. And one of the greatest quotes I have is from my mentor, Jim. Jim is 80 something years old. Jim says, "Hey, Mike, and he's been doing it, I say, since my realtor number is like 3 million or something. I say his is like 20. You know what I mean? Like, that's how many realtors he goes back. Over 50 years. He started in the 70s. So over 50 years of real estate experience, and he's still learning. He's still becoming this real estate guy. He's still going to educational classes and sitting in there getting educated on it. This is 50 plus years. You'll never know everything, although some people may feel as if they do. But it's in the becoming. You have your ups, you have your downs. If you decide to look at it that way, I say you have your feedback and you have your learn. You learn and you get feedback. There's no losses. You learn and you get feedback. But then you move forward with that, and you get tried and you get tested, and then you focus on it. And I think you'll be all the better from it. Any final words, brother, before we end this?
Yeah, man, I love that. I did have something. Yeah, it sparked my thought process, but I think it's gone right now. So that's all right.
If you remember it, write it in the comments, because I know it's fire. I know it's definitely a gem that could be dropped, man. Guys, we appreciate you each and every Monday for checking us out. Any comments, questions, we definitely want to hear from you. So put it in the chat or reach out to us. We definitely appreciate you for checking in. Other than that, we will see you next week. Peace.